Hi. So I'm just going to do an update here. Haven't done it in a couple weeks. I'm trying to do something a little more regular. Um, I have a hard time keeping up with regular videos for a variety of reasons, but I do enjoy doing the updates. So it is mid-July 2022, coming up on 1 year anniversary of my diagnosis, and I'm pretty present to that. And also remembering what I felt like at this point last year before diagnosis and the symptoms I was having. And at this point, I think I was starting to, become very aware that, there was something firm in my abdomen. It was palpable and it wasn't changing and it wasn't moving. So I kind of ruled out certain things that it could have been like, severe constipation or something like that. So there's no pain. There was no pain with it. That would, clue me into something being terribly wrong. And I supposed, on a couple of occasions that, a mass was a possibility, but I dismissed it so quickly. It's like it wasn't even there. So anyway, as I'm thinking about that, and you know, it's like there's the concern is just kind of perpetually there that it could, remanifest in some way. So I just continue to do things that I know to do and notice when I start to fall back into old patterns. So one of the old patterns that I fall back into is the way that I carry tension when it comes to like work and earning money and things like that. The modern, the modern source of stability is money, and having a lot of money for a lot of people isn't stability, which is interesting, because I don't know, I've just met people who have, no lack of money and they still have struggles. So it's an illusion that, money solves problems. Of course, having enough money to pay bills is very stress relieving, so I haven't had a stress like that in a long time. And, now we're both going back to work part time basically, and neither of us has started yet, and like basically went through all of our money. And so I guess there's a little bit of stress there, like right now as we're in this like in between, between like, okay, we're at the end and my semester's about to start. And, my wife is about to go back and do some, what they call it PRN, where it's like you just work as needed. But for her, I mean, they'll need her all the time. So she just has to say how much she can work. I'm excited about going back to work, to school and teaching. Right now I'm prepping a class. It's kind of a general conditions type of class and teaching herbal treatment for that and continuing to help students recognize different patterns of disharmony. That's what we call illnesses, patterns of disharmony. Acupuncture affects the physical functioning of the body. And so what we do is seek to create balance, get things functioning the way they're supposed to, and the body can resolve itself. And that's what I'm doing with myself right now. Is I'm having acupuncture pretty regularly, and that is to help my body balance. And I'm seeing an acupuncturist who does esoteric acupuncture, which I love because it helps me to look at the more subtle things, like the physical part we can always work on. I can actually do that myself as an acupuncturist. But when it comes to the deeper layers, that mind and emotion and spiritual stuff, it really helps to have somebody else do the acupuncture. And to have somebody who really resonates with that type of acupuncture, not just somebody who's like, yeah, I can do that, but somebody who loves to do it. So I have that. And it's been very good. I continue to take herbs. Think that I'm trying to go into like a fast, like a 48-hour fast. I'm really resistant. I don't want to, I guess. Fasting is kind of hard for me. So, anything else going on? I'll be teaching 8 hours a week. That's it. And I don't know that I want to do more. I find that when I talk and project my voice, which I've only done because I've been in a couple of group settings where I'm talking a little bit louder, it's so interesting that just a year off of work, it's so hard to talk for longer periods of time. And I know that part of that is recovery from, chemo and, like my legs taking so long, I just feel weak. So I started to do like a little bit of lunges when I walk, just a little bit. I don't want to overdo it, so maybe like 10 lunges, and that's it. Just engages the muscles differently. It feels good right after I do it, So I might increase that a little bit because I've had no soreness so far. I'm pretty used to walking. I've been walking for the last 7 months. Oh, my hair. It's about, it's about 2 inches long. It's a little, wily because it's growing in. Some spots are a little bit longer than others, but I trimmed it a couple of times because it was like here was like really long compared to other parts. And so I just, while it was still really short, I just trimmed it down. And then I've gone around my ears a couple times because that got real crazy shaggy. Okay, the kids are doing really well. My little girl is learning colors and she can name her colors. She's starting to count a little bit. She's 2.5. And my son, swimming has been like the focus this summer, and reading. And so he did 4 weeks of swim classes, which is 4 classes a week. And it was night and day between day 1 and day 16. I guess you could say that he was able to really grasp 5 of the skills that they teach. They teach 10 skills. And then I thought we'll go to the pool a little bit and just have him, kind of use what he knows, get comfortable, have some fun, maybe develop some, bad habits, and then we'll get him back in another round. And so I was going to put him in group, and I did. And the first day I was just kind of like, okay, he doesn't look happy. He was laughing and having fun when he was one-on-one, but in the group he wasn't. And they came over and said, like, we don't think he's ready for group. So I moved him to a one-to-one, and that was a couple weeks later. And the very first one, he was smiling, and the second day he jumped in the water and was confident and happy. And it turns out that his teacher today is very good friends with his previous teacher. So I think it's, they have young people teaching at the high school, and they're really good. They do a great job. So I don't know, that's about it. Last time my wife had her radio show, I talked on that. And so I'm doing the content part, and she's doing the sessions, the mini sessions. And I spoke on ego mind, and identity. And, there's so much to say about that, but I only want to take up like 20 minutes. And so I just gave kind of a first half of a piece, or a first part of a piece. We'll see. It might not be halves. It might be more chunks than that. But yeah, you can find that on our website. Our website is soulawakeningscenter.com. It's really a link to go to the radio website for that. So we'll see how that comes about. And I'm trying to think, anything else worth updating on? I don't know. I'll stop for now. I'm going to go work on my class. I think walks are the easiest way to do updates. It's quiet. My house is kind of noisy because I got little kids. Here comes my little friend. That's our kitty cat. It is late July 2022, and I think I mentioned before that I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary of diagnosis. And I'll admit, there's some feelings about that, and also some amazement that it was all over in less than a year. And, I think I've had it in my mind that cancer is this like many, many years long, horrible struggle, and it is for many. But for a lot of people, it's not. And some people handle it in all kinds of different ways. It is hugely impactful. There's no question about that. No matter how long it takes or how short, it is life-changing for everyone. Not just the patients, but everyone in their lives. So I'm heading out now for a 2-mile walk. And, I have a general measure for what that is. And really, I walk for like 45 minutes. And some days it's faster than others. I've been trying to walk a little bit faster lately to kind of build up my cardiovascular system and my strength. And I've had 3 days off now, just because of life, not intentionally. I did take Friday off on purpose, more like for rest, because I was feeling a little bit like overworked, just from not getting enough sleep, really. So I'll head out now, and I'll check in with you later. So the symptom that I have left, 2 symptoms really, maybe 3. So one is hot flashes. I've had a lot of hot flashes. No more night sweats, so that's an improvement, but the hot flashes aren't changing, so they aren't getting better. And so I know that there's something different I need to do in the world of Chinese medicine. And so I started to look that up. And it was in a book that's Chinese medicine and cancer, herb books. And one of the things that I read that I was just like, I don't need to do all this research because I don't need this idea in my head. It was just basically saying that chemotherapy is carcinogenic. So chemotherapy causes cancer. What fun. Anyway, I closed the book and I texted my acupuncturist from earlier this year, and I haven't been to see him in a while, and I was just hoping that he would, guide me. It's 2.5 hours and it just doesn't work for me to go. Anyway, he called me right back and he helped me figure it out. Okay, so I'm a little less than halfway along my walk. I was thinking about what I wanted to share with you. Okay, so first, I'm not trying for disability anymore. I wish that they paid earlier, and that would really make things easier, but we've been very, very fortunate to have a savings that we had, to have somebody do a fundraiser, and to get a good chunk back in our tax return. But now we're at the end of that. And Chrissy's going back to work per diem. That's confirmed. She's in that process now. I'm going back. I'll be teaching this week in 4 days. I'm excited. Very excited, actually. And we're still homeschooling, and we're getting back on track with that. And since Chrissy will be working, I'll probably take over most of the homeschooling because I think she'll probably have more days out of the house than I will. Homeschooling doesn't take as much time as going to school, because when kids go to school and you've got 20, 30, or 40 kids in a class and one teacher and a TA, if you have a TA, kids are not getting much one-on-one. And so teaching a class, they're at different levels and it takes more time. And as a teacher, I know that because there's, questions that one student will have that one student understands and vice versa. So at home, it's only like a few hours a day and you can get everything done. And they have a lot more experiential learning, and I think the big difference is that in homeschool, you're using your own funds. And so, getting access to, like at high school level, like a really powerful microscope, for example, you're not going to be able to do that. So you find another way. And there are ways to access that kind of thing. Interesting thing is there's conversation now about letting homeschool kids come and play sports at the local schools. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. Definitely give them a bigger population to draw from for sports. But the thing that I see being difficult about that is you've got this homeschool kid who's going to go try to fit in. That person's going to be like the oddball, the odd one out, All these other kids are in school together. They've got this rapport, and there's like a competition in school that doesn't really exist in the homeschool sector. And so I can see that being something. But, it doesn't have to be a problem. It just has to be addressed with the parents. The parents would have to help their kid. Also, I mentioned I'm writing a book. I had to take a break from that to prep my classes and some other stuff that I needed to do. And I'm seeing now that instead of dedicating a big chunk of time to writing, like an hour, I think that I need to every day basically just say I'm going to do at least 15 minutes. If that turns into longer, that's great, because I lose track of where I was. And it's the same like when you're studying and learning. If you spend a little time each day on something, you don't lose track of where you were. And you remember bits and details that you won't remember if you wait a week, for example. So I'm seeing that for myself. And once I get a little clearer about how to convey what the book is about, I'll share it.